Keanu Reeves isn't just an actor. He's a legend and an all-around really nice guy. Nobody can argue with me over John Wick's absolute supremacy. However, from rubber knives bending during action sequences to bullet holes disappearing from pillows, these are all the mistakes you probably missed in John Wick. I'll bet you didn't even notice them, especially the time John forgot how to count. Seeing just how intelligent this man is when it comes to getting the job done. This was just unbelievable to witness. If you weren't paying super close attention, you might not have caught it, but it was right at the beginning of the film. I'm sure you guys remember the scene where 13 people break into his home, and you were probably too shocked at the way he took them all out to notice it. I mean, I get it. The men were all armed and gave him some real competition, but right after he effortlessly destroyed them, he called to make a dinner reservation. And here's where you need to pay close attention, because while talking, he said that he wanted to make a reservation for 12 people, not 13.
This is Wick. Yes, John Wick, that's right. I'd like to make a dinner reservation for 12.
Huh? Now that leaves quite a few questions in your head. There's no way this would have been intentional, because this confusing slip of the tongue served no real purpose throughout the movie. Did they try showing us that he gets rid of the bad guys so quickly that he can't even count them all? Possibly. As far as I know, the error probably just slipped through unnoticed, but this isn't even as bad as the next one. His knife went all wobbly on him. Imagine you were fighting for your life and you went right at your enemy, only to notice that your knife is just rubber. Would be annoying, wouldn't it? Well, that's exactly what happened right at the end of the home invasion scene. It was the final death, and John really wanted to make a statement, so he went ahead and stabbed the dude not once, not twice, but 3 times. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty badass. But if you look closely, you can definitely see the blade of the knife bend under the pressure of the attack, especially at the second and third stab. Now, obviously, he wasn't using a real knife while acting. Safety's always the top priority on set, but I'm just saying, they could have easily made it look more believable. Exactly how filmmakers have made it look in countless other films. No hard feelings though. Going back and watching it over and over is pretty funny. Almost exactly like watching Wick's car topple over. I'm sure you guys jumped off your seats when Vigo knocked it off the dock, and it really went down in style. The way it flipped over was probably one of the craziest scenes in the entire movie. But if you try paying attention, you can clearly see the undercarriage of the car, and that it doesn't look very believable. You might ask why, but there's literally nothing to see there. You couldn't spot the exhaust system for the life of you. Heck, it didn't even have an engine. Now that's not a car the world's most amazing hitman should be driving, but jokes aside, that's just lazy editing. I mean, they could have really tried to pay attention to the details and make it look just a bit more real, but they probably didn't want to put all that effort into a second-long scene. And if that's the case, how will they explain the next mistake? Vigo's death left me full of questions. This was one of the most kick-ass scenes I've probably ever seen in a thriller. I mean, it's just plain impressive to pull a knife out of your own body and stab your enemy. The pain and the shock. Both of these are foreign concepts to our very own John Wick, and the surprise probably made you miss out on a very important detail. As you see him raise the knife to kill Vigo, there's literally no blood on it. Like, dude, the knife was inside his body like 2 seconds ago, and there's no way it just came out cleaner than ever. Not gonna lie, this was a pretty lousy one. All they had to do was sprinkle a little bit of red liquid onto it. It would have looked super believable, but this mistake really made the entire scene feel a bit off. It was one of the most important death scenes in the entire movie, and though the concept was to die for, a little more effort would have taken it up a whole new level. But not all of these mistakes are as easy to spot, like John's magical parking skills. In Chapter 2, there was one of these epic scenes where the dude on the bike slams right into John's Mustang, and the impact was so harsh, it actually made it hard to think for a second. That's when he parks his car on the spot, and you can see that it's right next to the white lines on the road. The only thing you need to notice over here, though, is the way the car is parked almost parallel to the lines. But as they cut to the very next scene, you can see John get out of his car and look at the mess. And the car's position has changed. It's no longer parked parallel to the lines. We can clearly see that the car is parked in an entirely different position. Chances are, though, nobody noticed it, unless they were specifically trying to look for it. But it simply adds to the list of errors that they simply ignored during the editing process. I mean, no film is ever perfect, and that's fine most of the time, because most audiences don't even notice the mistakes. I'm sure everybody noticed the next one. The bullet hole literally vanished. Right at the beginning of the film, there's a scene where you can see Malcolm shooting at the hitman's pillow to warn him. And obviously, the pillow isn't made of steel, now is it? A hole pierces through it, clear as day, but as you see him rolling off the bed and the camera cuts back to the pillow, there's no longer a bullet hole in it. I mean, come on, that just makes no sense.
Perkins?
I thought I'd let myself in.
I noticed.
Even if it only cuts back for a second, there's genuinely no believable recipe to make bullet holes go away, and it was a super lousy mistake, especially when the gunshot warning was the entire point of the scene. But the pillow wasn't the only thing that fixed itself in the John Wick universe. His car hood did the same thing. It's almost like all the things that belong to this dude are indestructible.
You, working again?
No, just sorting some stuff out.
Oh, well.
There was a scene in Chapter 2 where you get to see an epic car fight, and as a result of all the violent bumping of cars, Wick's car gets all beaten up. I mean, it almost looked like you couldn't even drive it anymore. The hood, though, is where you should focus, because it was literally destroyed. But then, a miracle happens. And in the very next scene, the hood just randomly fixes itself. Not to mention the dude was driving the car like nothing ever happened. I don't know about you, but I need to know what kind of car he's using. Speaking of his superpowers, though, he can time travel too. During the very first moments of the film, you can see him placing a bracelet on the table next to his bed. But within the blink of an eye, the time on the clock just changed. From 8, it goes right up to 10. But I'm sure you're not even surprised anymore. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the mistakes you probably missed in John Wick.